And I think it's, as parents, and to your point, right? I don't want my kids to struggle, and we want to protect them, and we want to do it. But ultimately, in the long run, if we're not allowing them to feel discomfort, if we're not allowing them to show themselves that they can push themselves beyond what they think they can do because they've left that comfort zone, gotten uncomfortable, and still accomplished it, or still done something good.
Darren, you think
You hear this?
you think for real that you could ever punch me in the
Yes,
face?
I can. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that I could.
Stop.
The problem is he's too used to Barry Switzer. He needs a little Jimmy Johnson.
He
in his
does,
life.
man.
Hey,
He's the backhand.
all jokes aside,
all jokes aside.
is there a scenario you foresee that you would punch me in the
Has
face?
to be a
Yes.
joke. That can't be a real question.
That's a legit question.
That's a real question.
Have you ever punched your best friend?
Yes.
Because that's what we are.
Because we're the two best friends that anybody could have. Because we're the two best friends that anybody could have.
Have you ever punched your best friend in the face? It's a legitimate question.
Yes, I have. Yes, I
Have you really?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I've got to do a fight with my best friend.
Okay, I've got to rethink.
You're not best friends until you get into a fist
I've
fight.
got to rethink.
He's never been to a
choosing
fight.
you
He's
as my best
You got to
friend.
be in a fist fight
Yeah,
to get into
actual
a fist
fist
fight.
fight. Yeah.
with your best friend. That's a good point.
I guess I've got to rethink choosing you as my best friend. If there's punching involved, I'm out. This phase was not meant to be punched.
Yeah, it was. You were meant to be a MMA.
What did we say about Jim long time ago when we had his wife on? He's got a very punchable face.
Yes.
That's funny. That's funny. What's going on, fellas?
You know what? What is going on, man? What's new in our world here? Why are you so dang
What's not
happy?
new is you not speaking directly in the microphone. That's not new.
I'm right in the microphone.
Dude, you got to love on this thing.
Hey,
What happened?
no
What changed?
more.
Okay,
Hey,
Todd,
yeah.
what changed?
So we walk in this morning, and Ben has this new drink,
Yeah.
and we're pretty sure
Called
there was.
love and joy, baby.
We're pretty sure that there was meth, PCP, and mushrooms in that because
Mushrooms
he is on
likely.
another level today.
He's totally different dude. And
we got some help today.
we
Thank
got some
the
help
Lord.
today. Yeah.
I don't have to run over there and press record anymore.
Yeah.
We got
David
our
doesn't
man,
have a mic, does he?
David, no, he doesn't
No.
have a mic, unfortunately. But we've got some legit help today that actually knows what he's doing, as opposed to me, who has no clue what I'm doing.
True.
You only say
Faking
that.
it.
You only say that
Faking
because
it.
he called me out about me being on my phone
that
sometimes
was the
during
greatest.
episodes.
Oh, that was the
so
greatest.
now according to Ben, he knows everything about everything. So
Yeah, David.
That was a
David, love you, brother.
Yeah, David's
That was a
first
great
time
call
meeting
out.
you, first time in here, and he's already calling you out for being on
Yeah,
your phone on
that's what I'm
camera.
talking about.
I love it. I freaking love it. It's about time we take a step towards more professionalism.
You would never see me on my phone in here.
Yeah, there it is. Right? It's in between your legs all the time.
and literally, this thing's been buzzing, and I'm like, I so badly want to grab it.
I'm the same way.
And I can't now because apparently I'm being judged. I thought this was a judgment-free zone, guys.
But isn't that just a great microcosm of society today? We're so attached to these things that we just
Don't turn it to that. You guys
constantly
are judging me.
gotta be
And
connected.
that's plain and simple. That's all.
You know
it
why
is.
we're judging? Because you're the main one always talking about detaching yourself from the phone.
That's true.
Yeah,
You
you
are the main one.
you read
All right.
some book
Okay,
about
there you go. Flipping it to accountability.
Get your
Now
life
it's not
back
judgment.
or-
Now it's accountability.
Get
All
your
right,
life
thanks,
back or
guys.
something, and get your life back, Tyler.
Ty. Come on,
That's only when I go home, guys. I don't care about you guys. I love my family. I deal with you guys.
Oh man! So the episode we just released, I guess I'll divulge what we're talking about today, since you two have no clue.
Because what?
Damn, dude. See, this is how we get started.
There we go.
I just asked
Just
him
shot
about
after
30 minutes
shot.
ago, hey, what are we doing today?
And that's why I
How
opened
we
up with
doing this?
asking, would you ever punch me in the face?
Yes.
Because these last 5 minutes, I'm giving you every opportunity, every reason to punch me in the face. No, last episode, part 2 of the Donnie Vincent episode. If you haven't listened, go back, listen to part 1 and part 2. We broke it up into 2 for the simple fact that it was a long episode, and it could have been way longer.
Way longer.
This dude's stories were so wild and out there, and it was so fascinating. So we decided to break it up in part 2. But in part 2, he said something really interesting. And he was talking about his son. And he said, and I don't remember the exact words he used, but it was something along the lines of, I'm going to embrace and allow challenges for my son and allow him to struggle. And that really was that concept stuck with me, because that's something that's important to me, and it's something that I can see that I'm going to struggle with as my kids grow up, is allowing them to fail and allowing them to work through struggle. And it's the balance and the tug of war in your mind of, well, I don't want them to suffer, but knowing how good it is for them to have to work through struggle and knowing how good it is for them to work through something. And so that's what I wanted to just toss out there today is that concept, because Darren, you've been through this 3 times. You got another one on, coming through. Tyler, obviously you've got 4 young kids, and you're going to be, I'm sure you've already experienced this with your 9-year-old, and it's going to be even, get even more severe. But how are we going to handle that with our kids is the question I want to pose and talk through. How are we going to handle struggles with our kids? Because we know it's good for them, but it's going to be hard to watch them struggle.
And I think, I had so many struggles growing up in a single family household, and, myself being the youngest, my mom working 2 jobs, that I went through that. And I always felt like, I went through the struggle of, not having a father figure that was just in my life, and my mom being busy and working most of the time, and went through some of the hardships. Hell, I started working when I was 12 years old, and I used to hate it, man. I used to honestly hate the fact that I couldn't go to the summer camps or couldn't go do the little things because I was working with my uncles. And then I got to like 14 years old, and I was working at this place and had a job, had to take a job. And it was just a part of my life. So since I was 12, I've always had to work, right? And I always thought, well, when I get older, man, and I had kids, I'm not going to let my kids go through that, man. That's a struggle. I want them to enjoy themselves. And I didn't allow my kids, when I had all 3 of my kids, DJ, Miranda, and Jaden, they didn't work. I always felt like I had to take care of things, and I wanted to be that dad to take care of things and then go on vacations in the summer. And if you wanted to play on the select baseball team, well, you can't have a job if you're playing select baseball, man.
We're on the road, guys.
We're on the road. And I wanted to provide that for my children. And now that I look back, that's probably one of the worst things I did.
Did they ever have a job?
No.
While they were living with you? Never had
not
a job. One single job.
Not one single job. And it's one, I'm not going to say, hey, look, what happened in the past happened in the past. And I'll tell you a little bit later why it was that way. But I didn't press them to have a job because I knew what it did to me, what I felt like it was doing to me, because I didn't have a childhood. I was always working, didn't have that same type of childhood. But then when I look back at my life, I'm thinking, man, I cut my teeth early. The experiences I went through, the responsibility that I had of showing up at 7 a.m. every day and even on weekends, I mean, those are some damn good learning lessons.
Yeah.
It's 12 to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, to clarify, your kids are great. They're awesome people. And and I don't think that's what you're trying to say, but I agree with you, because there's a lesson, right? There's a discipline, there's a perseverance, there's something, and I'm not saying they don't have it, but I'm just saying that
that's true, man.
You learn that, whether it's, and it doesn't have to be a job, right? It could be, hey, look, I play football in Salina, Texas, and for 11 and a half months out of the year, I am at the facility Monday through Friday at 5:30 a.m. for my lift. Like, that's what I got to do. I've got to grind. I've got to be uncomfortable. And it's hard, and I miss vacations, and I don't get to do all the things with my friends, and I don't get to do all the things that a kid should do, and I'm just suffering through it for something, right? But then think about when you're 25, right? And it's, hey, man, it's second nature to get up at 6 a.m. I'm up at 6 a.m. and I'm grinding. Doesn't matter if I went out with my buddies last night. Like, I'm still up at 6 a.m. showing up to work.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I'm of the mentality right now where we sit today as a parent that, and speaking about the job, because something you just said, Tyler, it doesn't have to be a job. It can be football. And I totally agree with that. I guess where I would push back on that is, if the kid enjoys football, where's the struggle there? I get that it's early morning.
Oh,
I get that
there's a struggle.
No.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
I get there's a struggle. I do. I get, because I played too as well. So I know that there's a grind to it. And you're not going to love every aspect of football. Right. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's an element, and maybe this is a psycho dad. Maybe my kids should be taken from me. There's almost an element of like, I want them to have to get a sucky job. Like, I kind of want that for them.
Yeah.
That they have to have a job that sucks, that they don't like, but they have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because football's different, because it's a goal that they're trying to achieve, and they want to go after that goal. Yeah, they may not like sprints, and they may not, but at least it's working towards a goal that they really like.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas the job, it's like, how in the world is serving tables at 15 really helping me? Yeah. I want them to have to figure that out themselves.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. I think you're right. And I think that kind of a rite of passage, right, is having a bad job.
Yeah.
But going because I have to get a paycheck, or I've got to do it. It's part of the process. But I think it starts way, way earlier. It starts when your kids are 1.5, 2 years old. Mm-hmm. When they fall down, we're not the parents that run over and pick them up and coddle them, right? Mm-hmm. That, look, you're okay. You're actually more durable than you look. You're going to be fine. Right. And then as you get older, like, picking up their toys after they play with them for them. Yeah. Oh, no, don't worry about it. Like, I'm struggling right now with my youngest, Sia. She doesn't want to lift a finger to do anything. Right. But she knows how to manipulate to get stuff done for her, right? And so it's this like headbutting right now with my 4-year-old daughter about, no. You're going to go pick up all those toys you left outside. You're going to go pick those up. And I think it's, as parents, and to your point, right? I don't want my kids to struggle, and we want to protect them, and we want to do it. But ultimately, in the long run, if we're not allowing them to feel discomfort, if we're not allowing them to show themselves that they can push themselves beyond what they think they can do because they've left that comfort zone, gotten uncomfortable, and still accomplished it, or still done something good. And then even as they get older, like, it doesn't have to be a job, but guess what? I freaking hated pulling weeds and mowing the lawn every weekend. Mm-hmm. Every weekend I did it. My siblings didn't. I did it. And then I had to clean the garage. My younger siblings didn't. I had to do it. And I'm not saying my younger siblings didn't work, but like, those were things that I did. I freaking hated it. So as parents, we can put them in positions very early on to get uncomfortable, because if you look around, especially, and I'm just going to stereotype Dallas and specifically North Dallas, it's like, I don't see kids doing anything. Yeah. It's like they run the roost because parents were so like, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll take care. I'll take care of your school stuff. I'm going to go get your school supplies. I'm going to go get this. I'm going to handle everything for you. Yeah.
And I think it really, man, you hit a point. And to all those that have gone through a divorce, I think one of the things that happened with my situation was that I was going through a divorce and I was trying to make the kids happy at the same time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was, whatever it took to make them happy. Hey, let's go on vacation. Let's do this. And, oh, you don't have to work. I got you on this, because you're trying to fill a void. I'm trying to please them.
Yeah, like I took away.
Yeah.
So I've got to be twice as good.
It's good. Yeah, exactly.
But then the other spouse, I've got to be twice as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah.
So my kids are getting 4 times as much.
But you go through this, and I think they suffer. That's why you see a lot of kids suffer through divorces, because there's no uncertainties. You're not holding them accountable for their actions. I will say this. I think I've had a learning lesson, and you never stop learning as a parent. My learning lesson has come from my wife's family, and watching Eddie and Jeanette raised, my wife and her sister Courtney. They had to work early on. I mean, 15 years old, they were working in the pizza place and doing a little thing. Had to have their own money to go buy a car.
Yeah.
They held them accountable. Like, absolutely held them accountable. They were $100 short. Well, earn that 100. Better figure it out. There were no shortcuts. Gosh. They didn't give them any shortcuts. And there's a reason why my wife owns her own business. Mm-hmm. And her sister's extremely brilliant and has a job and has always had a job, is because they cut their teeth early on, and their parents held them accountable through that process. So my son Judea right now, we went to the store just the other day, man, and this is my wife to the fullest. And I was like, I felt so bad for my son. So he has a little piggy bank, and he has to earn it. Feed the dog, pick up his toys. She may give him 5 cents, and I'm like, 5 cents? Give the kid $1, right? So, but he's put money in his piggy bank for a long time. He has to go buy his own toys.
Mm-hmm. Dude, we just introduced this concept to Cooper.
Dude, it's great.
It's so crazy.
I love it. 2 days ago.
I'm like, I'm the weak link here, man.
Dude, you're such
I am such a sissy. I am.
Soft.
So we're at the toy store. He doesn't have enough money to cover it.
Oh, gosh.
And
here we
she's
go.
like, put it back.
I love it.
Dude, I love Tiffany.
I'm like,
yes.
Hey, Tiffany, you're the real MVP.
I totally respected Tiffany before today, even more so now.
I'm circling back with him. Hey, how much you need, man?
I got you, coach.
You got to go TT. Hey, let's go to the bathroom. I'm gonna slip you a link in here.
Dude, Jared, this is disappointing because I have this picture in my head of how you are, and this is totally.
But it's a learning experience for me, man.
It 100% is, and literally, so same deal. So we did this. We've started with our bigs, right? And they've got a piggy bank, and grandparents give them stuff, and we're not big on allowances. Because it's like that's expected, right? It's like you have your jobs that are expected. Right. You don't get paid for that. You live here, you get fed. You don't get paid for that. Now, there are extra jobs that they'll do that will be like, okay, hey, I need you to go back out in the back, and I need to pick up all the trash along the creek.
Right.
Any piece of paper back there, go get it. I'll give you $5. Right. Okay, cool. That's fine. So anyways, so we're at the store, and they did their research. They found the toy that they wanted to get, and Luca brought $30. And the toy was $29.99. And he's like, yeah, cool. And I was like, you don't have enough. And he's like, yeah, it's $30. It's $29.99. I was like, no, bud, there's sales tax. And he's like, and Tiff looks at me. She's like, he's behind. I was like, no. He needs to understand what sales tax is.
Go walk the street.
And I said, I said, okay, you don't have enough money. You didn't bring enough money. And so I don't know what to tell you. And I did give a little bit, but here's what I did is I said, okay, I'll pay your sales tax, but you're going to give me the money as soon as we get home for the sales tax, and then I'm charging you interest. He goes,
love it.
Wow. What is this?
Yeah.
I love it.
He goes, so I said, I'm going to give you the $438, whatever for sales tax, but you're giving me $6 when we get back. And he goes, but it's not. And I was like, interest, buddy. If you don't have it, you got to borrow it from someone, and that costs money.
Oh, I love it.
And so, but literally, I made the twins because they didn't bring any money, and I told them, you can't buy them anything. They don't have money. They don't understand the concept, but we're setting it early. But I love that she did that, man. I honestly love it because again, what Tiffany learned and you learned, and you learned at a very young age is, look, if I don't get bailed out, then I've got to finish it. But if I get so accustomed to somebody bailing me out of a situation that I couldn't take myself all the way there, that's why I'm so scared for our country, because the amount of debt, right, that our country has right now individually. I'm not talking about as a country. I'm talking about the low interest rates, and we're buying, and what's going to happen when someone calls for it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and we're just so used to people paying, I'll just, I'll get another credit card, or, hey, I'll take out another loan, or, you know what, it's fine. I can, and that's life right now. And that's our generation. And as parents, we need to do a really good job of teaching them that, listen, like, you're not always going to get bailed out. You've got to pick yourself up. I'm not going to pick you up. You've got to finish that job. I'm not going to finish it for you.
Right.
You need to be uncomfortable, but realize that uncomfortable feeling is a good thing that's going to motivate you to finish it, because you don't want to stay in that uncomfortable position.
Yeah. Yes. It's interesting, Darren, you talked about you overcorrected.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Totally.
So you were on the extreme of, I had to start working when I was 12, which is early, to my kids aren't working at all. So you almost and I feel like that's, as a society, that we've done a lot of that, is overcorrect. We were treated this way as kids. We're going to overcorrect with our kids. Man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're robbing them of that discomfort that they have to work through. So I think there's some middle ground there's got to be some middle ground.
There
Maybe
is,
at 15 is when they get their job, or
Yeah.
at 14 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I
Maybe
think
not at 12.
Labor laws prohibit
Yeah.
the 12
What is the labor law?
I think you get a work permit at 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So my
is what
first
you-
job was mowing yards.
Yeah.
So not in a formal, like I had to go do an interview, but it taught me hard work, taught me how to manage my money.
Yeah.
That was a perfect first job
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Because it taught me those valuable skills while not actually having to go out and really interview and have a formal job, if that makes sense.
My first job, I had my two uncles, and both of them alcoholics, passed away. Both of them dead, man. I was raised by they're my mom's brother's brother. You talk about dysfunctional.
Yeah.
I was 12 years old. That's all I knew was my uncles, my two uncles, and they laid carpet. And we go into these buildings, and I would help them. They would lay the carpet, and they cut the carpet, and they throw it out the window. And I was down there in Phoenix at 120 degrees, and I catch the carpet, and I throw it in the back of the truck. I learned how to drive at 13. Big old stick on a big rig, man. That's how I grew up. And I just, but because it was, maybe if the experience was different, and it wasn't so dysfunctional, and I wasn't getting cussed out and yelled at or whatnot, maybe I would have came up a different way. Or, and there's no excuses, but the way I looked at life back then with my kids was provide, make them happy. Yeah. And you're right, there's a middle ground there, man. Like, they got to earn it somehow, some way. And you got to start early on making them earn and take on some responsibility.
Yeah. As long as society is set up the way it is today, which is a capitalist society, which I'm all for, you're not doing them any favors by handing them everything as they grow up.
That's right.
You think you are at the time. You think you're being the best parent.
Tying their
but you're
hands.
doing no favor for them when they're 23, 24, and they realize, oh, wait, I'm not handed everything at this time. I don't get my dream job at 23.
Yeah.
Now, some people do because they figured out the whole YouTube game, but the majority of us don't.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's good. And you don't have to be a mean asshole parent, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. Yep. Like, but you need to teach them to finish, like, because if you don't finish, like, then, I mean, you're never, ever going to realize, like, what that is and have that encouragement. So I'll share, like, a quick story recently. And by the way, I'm not great at this with my kids. Like, so my son plays flag football, and this is a testament to me not being great at holding accountable all the way. Because my oldest is not this way. And my son, Luca, he's that guy that stops right before the finish line.
Right.
Yeah. He's that guy that, like, lets up right before, and it, like, chaps me. So we're at flag football practice the other day, and I literally, like, dude, I just had enough. And, if you're the coach and your kid's playing, you're kind of extra hard on your kid. But, like, he let up, and so I'm thinking, like, okay, like, how do I, like, get this through his skull? Like, like, the line is here. You literally have to cross that line. Like, you cannot let up here. So here's what I do is I literally, like, I said, Luca, all right, look, you and I, we're going to spend, and this was on Sunday. I said, we're getting in the car. I'm going to show you like what finishing looks like. So we're going, right, and I'm talking through it. I'm trying to understand it, and so we're driving, and then there's a bridge in front of us, and so we're driving. I was like, okay, this is where I want you to pay attention.
Hey guys, hope you were enjoying this conversation. Hopefully, it's giving you a few things to think about as we're all three trying to work through the difficulties of letting our kids struggle and fail. But did want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor, Choctaw Casino and Resort. Guys, we've been talking about it for weeks and months. The brand new expansion has been completed. It's here. Get yourself up there, up I-75 if you're in the Dallas area. Get out to Choctaw Casino and Resort. This weekend, on the 3rd, Friday the 3rd, Ron White is performing. And then on Saturday, the 4th, they've got Leonard Skinnard. And then, they've got awesome concerts all fall long. So make sure you get up there and make sure you get your tickets. Choctaw Casino and Resort, we really appreciate their partnership. Now back to the episode.
Okay. Here is a bridge. Here is this river, okay? It's called the Red River. we're going to haul ass across this Red River, and I'm going to show you what the finish line looks like. And you know what it looks like? A brand new expansion to Choctaw Resort and Casino. This thing, he had to see. Yeah. He had to see, because that is what the result looks like of hard work. If you are putting in the work, you are putting in the time that is needed, then look, it was uncomfortable for the 2.5 years of building that, right? But you know what? The 3,000 slots that they have,
Finished.
The 700 rooms that they have,
Finished.
The sports bar that sports betting is going to be in when that's illegal,
Finished.
or when that is legal,
Yep.
finished. The amount of concerts, give me 2 or 3 concerts that they got
Dude,
coming.
I just got to say before I do. I was on the edge of my seat.
I was like, you're going across the Red River.
I thought this was legit. I thought you were going to run the truck off into the river and say, hey, your ass has got to swim. I don't know where you were going.
True story. We did do that example. The location was a little bit
said
different.
Red River. I was like, that's a little
I was
further
like,
north.
hey, you do live far north.
You try to get out of civilization so nobody hears him scream? What you doing?
Well, that was awesome. But this weekend,
Yeah.
Friday the 3rd, we've got Ron White performing. Darren, you ever heard of Ron
Nope.
White?
Nope.
He's the guy that, Tyler, he's the guy
Yeah.
that has the big old cigar and the whiskey.
And
the-
usually whiskey.
Yeah, comedian, right?
And what's his famous one that he always does?
He's for white people.
He's definitely a white people comedian for sure.
And then Saturday, I hope you know, I don't know if you know that, I recognize the name. I couldn't tell you a single other thing about him. On the 4th, Saturday the 4th, Leonard Skinnard.
Leonard Skinner, yeah.
You know what?
I don't know. I don't know much about him.
Freebird.
Leonard Skinner's going to be in at Choctaw.
Give me 3
That's-
steps.
I didn't know that.
Do you know any other
Not
songs?
ringing
I
any
know
bells.
Leonard Skinner. I don't know all the
None of that's ringing any bells.
It's a legendary Southern rock band. Legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Yeah, the name's familiar. So anyway, that's this weekend, this Friday and Saturday. So go up there if you're old and check those two out, because those sound like older people.
And then next weekend,
performing.
the next
go
weekend's a big one.
Yeah, the next weekend is I think it's 2 weekends after the 17th.
17th. Sorry, 17th.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron.
Aaron Watson.
Hey,
On the 17th.
That's right.
So-
We're going to be up there.
That's right. We'll be up there live and in person. But I did want to go down before you did that awesome
Totally derailed.
transition. Wow, that was amazing. Quitting.
Yeah.
So we talked about the job and the skills that teaches them. What about when they start a sport or when they start an activity?
They can't quit.
What do you mean?
No, they can't quit. Once you sign up, you're in.
They can't quit ever?
They can't quit. If you sign up for Pee Wee football, you're 9 years old and you sign up to play on that team, I don't care if you're the starter, if you don't like the coach, if you're not playing, you will see the entire season.
Can they quit? Can they quit after the season?
After the season, you figure it out, but you're going to do something. I'm a firm believer that you have to stay active.
Yeah.
You can't sit on the couch in the summertime or whenever and just,
What about the kids that are making $15 million a year playing video games?
That's all good. I mean, I have no
you do
problem.
that?
But in my house, like there's like a dictatorship, right? I'm not sure. I'm the dick, right?
We
So,
just
I'm dictatorship,
don't try to be
right?
hard now. We just heard about how you handle.
Well, hey, that's just holding them accountable. But I think there's part of it where if you set the rules in your house to say, if you start something, you have to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer, if you allow your kids to quit halfway through, they're going to quit on everything.
Yeah. And to that point, I think it's really important. So if you're a 2-parent household, I think it's really important early on to get those expectations very clear. Not saying that you've got to have, your 10 principles posted up, in a picture frame in your family room, but you need to be very clear what those expectations are, and you need to be on the same page, and then you need to communicate those early on. You need, like you said, so like, hey, listen, here's the rules. Like, if you aren't playing a sport or you are not in an extracurricular activity, then you will be working. If you're too young to have a job, then you're going to be working at the house. But you are going to be busy and you are going to be active. So I agree with you. Now, if you're a single parent, you've just got to make sure you're communicating that and everybody's on the same page. I think it's really, really important because I'm with you there. Is you got to stay active, and on the quitting thing, it's if you commit to something. Because what I don't think that we have a concept of in the younger generation is how important your word is. If you make a commitment to something, you have to follow through with it. We just have so many empty promises. I don't like it.
Man,
I'm uncomfortable.
So true.
And
And that's the key. It's the empty promises. And the fact that I don't know how many times I've watched my kids throughout the years and play on team sports, and kids will quit halfway through or whatnot. But how many times the parents are going to the coach and having a conversation with the coach about little Timmy not getting enough time on the field? Look, stop bailing your kids out as well. I think there's times where your kid's going to have to stand up and ask the coach. I've had this situation where I've had to tell my son, hey, I don't make the decisions. Go ask the coach.
Yeah.
Go ask him. You have the conversation with him. I don't want to go have the conversation with him and complain about
I
your
remember
situation.
One of the scariest conversations I ever had to have, I was in 8th grade. And in 7th grade, you guys have seen my picture. It's made the rounds.
I thought that was 8th grade.
Hey, let's bring it back.
The puka shells?
It was both.
Okay.
So 7th grade, I was
We
a
can bring that
center.
back.
I was the center on the 7th grade team. And it was literally one of those things, I didn't even know what a center really was. They said, hey, you can go whatever position group you want to go to.
Who'd you want to go to?
That's the weird thing is I just made this assumption in my head. Well, I'm fat and big, so I'm going to be an offensive lineman. So I just went with the offensive lineman.
did?
I
Okay.
chose to go with the offensive lineman.
I would have thought you were the big boy and you wanted to play quarterback or running back.
Looking back, I'm like, why didn't I just go to like running back or quarterback or something anyway? But I had in my head that no, they're going to move me to this, so I might as well just go do it now. So they're literally standing there like, all right, who wants to play center? And so I just nobody else raised their hand, so I just raised my hand. So that's how I became a center in 7th grade I raised my hand and that was it. So 8th grade, I wanted to change to tight end because I didn't like center. I didn't like playing. And I was hoping my parents would say, yeah, we'll talk to the coach. No big deal. No, they made my ass go talk to the coach. And it was the most uncomfortable moment of my life, having to go to an adult and tell them what I wanted. But I tell you what, I look back on that, I'm like, man, what a great lesson. Because it was I struggled through it. My voice was cracking. I probably cried later just because of the nerves.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting what I wanted. The coach said, okay, we'll tell you what. We'll give you one scrimmage at tight end. And if you do a good job, we'll let you stay at tight end. And it ended up working. So I stayed at tight end the rest of that year.
Yeah.
And then obviously ended up playing in college. But the point is my parents forced me into that uncomfortable situation and made me go handle it.
Okay.
They didn't handle it themselves. They made me go take care of it.
That's
and
a
it
great lesson.
sucked at the time.
Yeah.
It was so horrible.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they're sitting there thinking every ounce of them, maybe behind closed doors, every ounce of them wanted to do it for me.
Right.
So like, no, this is going to be good for them.
Yeah.
And so as a parent, that's what I think now.
Yeah.
Every ounce of me is going to want to do it for them, but I've got to hold back that urge because of the good it's getting.
You know what I did get out of life, though, especially, again, there was so much good in the way that I was raised and experiences I went through. I just didn't appreciate them. Really didn't. Like my mother, when someone would ask, hey, what's your name? If I didn't answer,
you got slapped.
holy cow.
Was your mom a trap squeezer, or was she just a smack you in public?
Back of the head, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the back. That's why I got this little hook in the back of my head. But she would make you have to make eye contact, and she's not going to answer that for you. And I'm sort of the same with my kids, the same way. I mean, they didn't ask. She didn't ask me. She asked you what your name was.
Yeah, a little thing I do at restaurants, and it's simple, seems simple, but as I make my 4-year-old order for himself.
Yeah,
I don't tell the waiter what he wants. He has to tell the waiter. He has to look the waiter in the eye. He has to say what he wants, or else he doesn't get anything.
That's wit. That's not you.
That's me. That's all BG.
Wit. That's all wit. You ain't tough.
That's good, though. That is good.
Yeah, and to that point though, be on par with your spouse, husband or wife, or partner or whoever that you're raising this child with, because that's a good point. Is if you're not aligned, because you could have this thought of this is how I'm going to be, but if your spouse or your partner doesn't have that thought, then that's obviously a problem.
To your point, imagine if your parents robbed you of the opportunity to get the confidence that you had after.
Yeah.
Right. And you said it earlier, right? I don't want them, I really want them to have the things that I didn't have. And I wish that I had those things as a kid. But in reality, parents understand by giving them something, what you're robbing them of.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's give a man a fish, feed him a day, teach him to fish, feed him for a life kind of deal. It's super cliche and it sounds really simple, but when it comes to bailing your kids out in situations that they are fully capable of doing themselves, but it's just easier as a parent to do it yourself rather than them cry, whine, throw a tantrum, whatever it is, you are robbing your child of that step of progression to being a better human being.
It is hard though, man.
Yeah. Oh.
Like,
No, I'm not saying it's
I'll tell you
not.
what, one of the hardest
Well, it's hard
things-
because it's got to be thought out and it's
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
custom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just a broad brush
Right.
approach with all your
Right.
kids.
You gotta be intentional.
Each kid has to have a
So different.
has their custom approach.
What I do with Gia, my oldest, is completely different than what I do with my
Yeah.
second and Luca.
Right.
Like completely different.
What-
I mean, I look at Gia like with just a disappointed tone.
Right.
And she's bawling and then goes and does it and then does something extra.
Right. So with her, you know that your approach is going to be much different.
Way different.
Right.
Yeah.
What about physical activity? And the way I know we talked about sports, but I'm talking formal, actual like working
Manual
out.
labor.
Oh yeah.
Or manual. Well, I guess we go manual labor. I was thinking more along the lines of, because I remember my dad would have me go work out with him when I was 15 or 16, and I absolutely hated it at the time. Absolutely. We would go to the gym and we'd do actual physical work, and I hated it. And I wonder if and I'm not blaming him at all. I wonder if it had just been a natural thing, like with my kids, we have the home gym. And so Cooper's in there every morning, and Case now is starting to be, and it's just fun for them. They're just messing around. So I've never once told them, hey, you have to do squats, you have to do push-ups. They just naturally do stuff that they see me doing.
Right.
And so my hope is with that they're just going to grow up. It's just going to be a natural part of what they do.
Yeah.
I remember one summer, this is still the most gnarly thing I've ever heard a parent do. My dad had this rule, because this was back when PlayStation 2 first came out.
Oh, yeah.
I was in 7th or 8th grade. I was in middle school. And he was so sick of us sitting inside all day watching or playing PlayStation. So he had this rule one summer. Every single morning, 7 a.m., we were up, which now is like, that's sleeping in. That's awesome. But at the time, 7 a.m. as a summer, in the summer,
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was sleeping till 11 if you'd let me. 7 a.m. we were up, and we were outside until noon every single day. 7 a.m. to noon. You could not come inside unless it was for a drink or something like that. When you did come inside, I was only allowed 1 hour of TV or screen or whatever. Everything else was just, you could draw, you could do whatever you want to do, but nothing on the screen. And so at the time, I'm sitting there like, none of my friends had to do anything like this. I thought it was the most extreme thing ever. Looking back now, I'm like, that wasn't a bad. That was actually kind of a good idea.
How did they monitor that? Though?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was left with having to patrol it. But the concept was, and it's so funny because younger, before that PlayStation came out, we were outside all the time. It didn't bother me at all. But then as soon as I got that addiction to that game, I was all in. That's all I wanted to do. So my dad set these parameters of. So I don't know.
So the basis is putting your kids in uncomfortable positions.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'd have friends over, for instance, and they had to wake up too. Like they weren't excused. They had to be a part of.
I ain't coming over.
So friends didn't come over anymore. I didn't have sleepovers anymore.
Is that why friends didn't come play with you?
That's what they said. Maybe it's because I was a.
But I agree, and I think that we want to be friends with our kids. We want our kids' friends to like us. So we just make it easy. Like there's nothing wrong with having expectations, holding them accountable, and no matter who's around, like it's good for their friends to see that, right?
Yeah.
It was good for your buddies to see it. Not, dude, Gibbs, they work or they're outside till noon. I mean, that's part of it.
You know where I see myself, and this is just really thinking this through as we're talking about that, where I'm really intentional in things that exercise is involved with. Right? I'm not good at the other things as far as holding him accountable for his money and all that stuff. But like where exercise, like we go on walks, my wife and I, and we always take Judea with us on these walks, and we allow him to bring his scooter. And we may go on a couple of mile walk, and it's somewhere in there that he's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the exercise part of it for me is I'm not going to help you. We got to get home. Figure it out. I'm not picking you up. His mom wants to pick him up. And but it's intentional for me because I understand that. I can relate to having to fight through it in a physical manner. She can relate to doing it on a financial side or the duties within the house. But however you get there, if you, like you said earlier, Ben, if you can work together, my strengths aren't what my wife's strengths are and hers aren't mine, but you have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
I think it's really just important. It's important to just put your kids, like you said, in uncomfortable situations. create those scenarios. And I think one thing I always try to do is I always try to trick them into thinking that this is cool, like that this is not uncomfortable. But I think there's value in them understanding that, like, hey, I'm about to run into this wasp's nest, and I got to make it through the other side, and I'm preparing myself for that. And I just think that there's fortitude and there's just strength that comes from that when they know it's going to be hard, and then they still have to go through it. And again, as parents, we try to make it easier by like playing mind tricks on them. Like, oh no, it's actually really fun to pull weeds in the front yard for 2 hours in the summer in Texas. It's great. Yeah. It's awesome. We can make a game and count. But like, no, it's good for your kids to be in those situations. And look, if they start something, whether it's a sport, whether it's a chore, it's a job, it's whatever it is, just make sure they finish. Yeah. Make sure they see it all the way through. Yeah.
Would you guys say, if we were going to stereotype and generalize, would you guys say a lot of the issues that we have in 2021 could stem back from the way that this generation was raised?
Yeah.
Because this generation is my generation.
Our idea of discomfort.
It's your generation, but it's basically, I would say it's my generation.
Because your parents went through hell.
Yes.
Like legit issues.
Yes.
Financial, climate, everything, like really bad. And then they raised you through that lens of the things that they grew up in.
And we had to do things. Like I had to work. I had there was no exception. I think my generation was a working generation at a young age. Yeah. But because we worked at such a young age, we didn't want exactly how I was. We didn't want to put that on our own kids.
Right.
And we became my generation became the first of the helicopter parents.
Right.
Yeah, so my generation's being raised by your generation. Yep. So your generation again, we're making general statements, but your generation overcorrected, said, I don't want it to be as hard on my kids as it was on me. And so now, hopefully, we're going to go, it's like a pendulum, right? It's swinging.
I think
it needs to swing back
yes.
but towards putting some pressure on our kids.
What swings that pendulum back, right? Really bad times.
Right.
That's what brings it back. And to your point, your question is just this generation's idea of discomfort is very different than it was 20 years ago, than it was 40 years ago, than it was 60 years ago. So we overreact to something. I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling like I'm being judged, or I didn't get the job that I think that I deserve, or I didn't play on the team. And we overcorrect. And you look at it on a national scale, like on a social justice perspective. Like there's so many things that like people just feel uncomfortable about, and they don't understand the whole picture and what's actually going on. You look at Afghanistan, right? Like you look at the scenario there and the people that have gone through the discomfort, that people that have been uncomfortable serving our military, serving overseas, their reaction is, let's go. We gotta go do something. We have to make an impact. But you look at everybody else, it's like,
stay out of it.
That's hard. It's not our issue anymore. It's not our country. Right. It's just different. The level of discomfort is different now. And so what worries me is what's going to happen when it gets hard again, because it's going to. It always does.
So that's a good way to wrap this up. Then is how are we going to do? How are we going to approach this then? How do we bring us back to balance? If it's headed in this direction where we're worried about every little problem, we manufacture these issues that aren't really issues. And thank God we have the privilege to manufacture these issues, right? Life is so good for us in general that we're able to worry about this petty little stuff. So if that's the way everything is headed, how can we three take care of our homes and the people listening to this? How can we seize control back?
I think, just one thing is I think you have to learn to live without something, because everything is so comfortable. Everything is at our fingertips. We have to learn how to live without having everything that we want. And there's got to be, and that's to me a very simple first step, because when you have everything, you don't need to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Look, I would say,
what are you going to do with Judea? How are you going to set the core in your own micro economy in your house, how are you going to course correct the next generation?
Think first of all, you have to be on the same page with your spouse, or if you're an individual and you have to hold yourself. I think hold yourself accountable, because I think a lot of it is that we just don't hold our own self accountable to actually be intentional and pursue everything to its fullest. Like, we will allow things to escape. We can't allow things to escape. Mm-hmm. We got to say what we mean when we mean it.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be home at 11 o'clock, it's 11. It's 10:58, 10:59. Walk in at 11 o'clock. That's 11:01. That's your ass. Like, we don't do that. And I'm pointing the finger at myself. So I think it needs to be an understanding between the spouses, if it's two members, wife and whatever your partner is. But not only that, but like, we always talk about ourselves, right? Where it starts with ourselves, but it also starts with the fact of not being friends. Like, these are your kids. Mm-hmm. They are not your friends. Let's stop acting like they're your friends.
Was your mom your best friend?
No, hell no. She's my mom. She slapped shit out of me when I didn't.
And how much do you love her now that you're an adult?
Because I've learned so much through that. And they will appreciate you in the end. I'm appreciated by my 28-year-old son. I know he tells me all the time, damn, I'm glad you did this and did that, and I learned so much through that. They will love you through this process, but you can't be their best friend and save them from every single thing that's out there. And I'm pointing the finger at myself, because I've learned it the hard way. I know I've had to go through the process of watching other people and said, okay, my 5-year-old, you're in trouble, brother, because I'm gonna hold you accountable in a different way, and I'm gonna work with your mom to be to apply those things. Yeah. So, as parents, be parents.
Yeah. How the Gibbs household is going to handle it is 3 main principles that if I get nothing else right, these are the 3 principles I'm going to harp on.
Work out. What? Yeah.
Bicep curls, tricep extensions, and crunches. Those are the 3 principles I'm going to stand on. See you guys next week. No, really. Number 1, take personal accountability. Of every situation that you find yourself in, you take personal accountability. Whether it went right, whether it went wrong, what could you have done better in that scenario? So number 1 is ownership, taking ownership of the situation. Number 2 is service of others, because this is something that I personally struggle with. My parents are amazing at service. That's how they brought me up. I need to get back to that. I want to teach my kids the importance of service to others. And then number 3 is what we just said, what we just joked about, but is the physical activity aspect. Learning how to struggle physically. In manufacturing, thankfully, at least, if things go according to my plan, they're gonna be okay for the most part from a financial situation. So it's manufacturing struggle in other ways, and that typically tends to be physical, but pushing them through that struggle. Yeah. So if I can get those 3 principles down, I think that's how I can do my part to hopefully this next generation can be better than my generation currently is handling things. So anyway, any other closing thoughts?
Man, that was awesome, man. I love this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be had enough with the way we see everything going on in the news. I think these are the real conversations that need to be had, because we can't change Afghanistan. Us 3 can't change Afghanistan, but we can change our own homes.
That's right.
And that ripple effect. And there's other things we can do outside of our home. I get it. I'm not saying that. But it starts in the home, in my opinion. Yeah. Change your home first.
And I think too, we can help create a country that is appreciative to what we truly have. If you are not manufacturing uncomfortable situations, creating resilience, it's really hard to see all the beauty that we have around us as a country, all the great things that we have. And we just, I think as a country, we're losing that, because we just think, wow, I don't like this, so it needs to be that, or I don't like this, it needs to be that. Like, in reality is if you struggle, the appreciation for just life itself is so much better. So let's give our kids the chance to appreciate life.
We've lost a little bit of perspective of what's going on outside of this country, right? Yeah. I told you guys privately, and we'll say it here. If you haven't listened, if you don't listen to Joe Rogan and you are only going to listen to one episode, go listen to the one he did with, I think her name was Yeonmi Park. I forget her name. She's from North Korea. And hearing the stories of her life growing up in North Korea will absolutely blow your mind.
Right.
So that perspective, gaining that perspective is so valuable and so important. Did you guys see, by the way, it's not truly 100% related. Did y'all see Jocko's video he just put out yesterday or the day before?
No, I think you sent it to us.
It's like a 3-minute video of, he said, if I was president of the United States, this is how I would approach the situation in Afghanistan. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. I mean, it was the epitome of taking ownership and not passing, because, and again, I don't want to turn political, but there was no accountability taken. And so it was really cool the way that he did it. But anyways, Darren, where can people find us?
At the Darren Woodson Show. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on the Twitter.
The Twitter.
Do we even have a Twitter anymore?
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
TikTok. What happened to TikTok?
We're not 12.
You know what? Can we turn your damn mic off? Can we turn your damn mic off?
We're not 12 and we don't dance, so we don't belong on TikTok.
But I will say this again. We always talk about being interactive with our audience. This topic today is something that it's dear to our heart because we're parents. One, but for those that are listening, we want some feedback from some of the things that you may possibly be out there doing. That's as far as holding your kids accountable or introducing. I remember we had a guest on one day, and they talked about taking their kids to meetings early on. I can't remember.
Dr. Michael Bruce, the
sleep
doctor.
Taking his kids. Those are things I never thought I could ever think about. So the audience out there right now, if you could ever just introduce some things some topics,
we can
some
share,
ideas that we can share. It'd be awesome.
And make sure on YouTube, subscribe, comment. More interaction that we can do, the better. Because again, we want to be able to answer any questions, have discussions about topics you want to hear, and if you give a good one, Darren,
might show up shirtless.
If you do, I was going to say we'll do another shirtless video in his garage, all sweaty. So make sure to follow, like, and subscribe.
We should do a show,
shirtless,
just butt naked show.
Hold on.
Wait.
Just butt naked show.
Cut the audio.
Yeah, hit those red buttons.
But no, you don't. This is a butt naked show, dog. You think our ratings wouldn't go up?
Dude, this just got weird.
This is.
You were the one earlier. You want to talk about what you were saying?
This is the brother sitting between two white dudes. He's feeling real confident why he's going to say. He goes, yeah, let's do it, fellas.
If you don't get that joke, ask your parents. All right, guys. See you Friday.